Hmm. Come on. Don't fail me. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yep.
All right, wonderful. All right. Oh boy. I tell you, technology got a way of doing things, don't it? It'll teach you what it is. Share the screen. All right. I'm sharing the screen. Here you go. All right. There you go. All right. Well, this is our finishing day of the Torah portion that we call Shemot. And it's been a ride. It's been definitely a ride. Often I think about, well, what would be the approach? What would be the approach for us to learn, and what can we, take from our studies this week, and what can we, or how can we use these things to apply it to our life? And what I found was that there's several, ideas that are in part of our Torah portion, which we talked about, which was, the compassion of the women that we saw and that we found out about. Most High has chosen the Levitical family to lead his people, fulfilling the words of Yakov when he had told his sons that, that I need to separate Shimon and Levi. We also discussed the idea, I think it was on Yom Kamishi, about us being Elohim, and how we have a responsibility to walk in the ways of the Most High, and what the expectation is. And also, too, we can learn that we need to be responsive, and we need to have a sense of boldness about us, especially to do the work that we've been called to do. Shemot, and the work, let me be clear, the work that we have to do is the work on ourselves. That's the work that we're concerned with. We're not concerned about working on other people. I know in our former life as Christians, we were told that, we're supposed to be there for other people and pray for them and all this sort of stuff. And the whole time there's an issue that's going on with us that we're not getting the relief we need. We're so busy worrying about other people that we can't focus on ourselves. And that's what I love about the Torah, because the Torah is a journey that one has to take for themselves. We're a flock and we're all together and we're walking down this road, but all of our experiences are going to be our own experience. What I might experience may be something a little bit different than you, the Most High. Okay. All the sheep are not alike. So some need certain amount of care. Some of them need, more discipline, more attention. Some need more patience. They're all different. So we're all different people. And what works for one of us may not work for all of us. And we have to be careful not to throw ourselves in that box. Like, we might see someone else doing something, so we think that we should be doing it. It may not be the case. So this walk for us is an individual walk. That we come together and we're all learning, the same thing, but it affects us in different ways. I put this word up here called Elohim. I wanted to begin off with letting us know that anything that we do is going to be about our Elohim, because that's what Elohim knew. I can't assume that everybody knows what this is. So this new right here is our, okay? And the Elohe here means Elohim, okay? And so the Elohim, he's our Elohim, okay? And we literally are possessed by him, okay? We're his possession, okay? We belong to him. but also too, in the sense that we have to take our hand and we need to hold on to him like he's holding on to us. The Most High has been holding on to us for thousands and thousands of years. And it's been based upon a promise. It was based upon a relationship. I think, I know that I told you that, the Bible talks about Abraham being his friend, and it was deeper than that. He didn't use the word kavar. He didn't use that word. He used the word ahav, meaning that he is ahavi, okay, ohav, meaning he's loving him. And so this relationship is based upon love, and it's based upon care. It's based upon looking towards his home. And that's everything that's included, including the descendants, okay? So when we looked at our Torah portion this week, Shemog, I must have been tired. Elohim heard their groaning. If you see any errors in my presentation, please don't be angry with me. I haven't had any sleep for like 2 days. I don't know what's going on with me, but I can't sleep for whatever reason. I don't know what Most High has me not sleeping, but I can't sleep because I'm always thinking. Too many thoughts are going on. So anyway, Elohim had heard their groaning. All right. Elohim remembered his covenant. Okay. So we're going to talk about these ideas of his remembering, this idea about him groaning, or them groaning, and he remembered his covenant. That's what he's remembering. And he's remembering this covenant with these individuals. Okay. And as you notice in the Torah, he always mentions them. He always mentions Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Okay. And he says that he's the Elohim. He saw the people of Israel, and Elohim acknowledged them. Okay. Key concepts is this, is that the Most High, he heard, he remembered, he saw, and he acknowledged. Okay. We find that our Elohim is a living Elohim. This is the reason why it's using this type of language about him hearing, about him seeing, about him remembering, about him acknowledging. Okay. We know that, the Most High is not a human being, but all because he's not a human being doesn't mean that he hasn't created the ears to hear. All because he's not a human being does not mean that he doesn't create the eyes to see. Okay. So the hearing that we have and the seeing that we have are the very things that came from the source, which is the creator, right? So he might have, eyeballs that, have, capillaries in them and vision problems and all this sort of thing. But he understands because he's the one who created the eyes and the ears to see and to hear. We also know that he says that he remembered. And to remember something means that you have to have a mind. And it has to be what we would call a thought. Okay. So the Most High has a mind, but it's not like the brain that's in our head because he's not a human being. We also see that he said that he acknowledged them. And that word right there has to do with the Hebrew understanding called yada. Let me let this person in right quick. Praise be to Yahweh. Yada. Okay. Yada. Write it down here. Y-A-D-A-A. Okay. If you look at this word right here, it has the word yod in it. Somebody tell me what is yod. What is a yod?
The hand.
It's the hand. It is the hand. Okay. So when he says that he acknowledged them, okay, he's giving, and the hand means that literally to touch something with, or to hold, or to grab. When you think about your hand, think about these concepts, because that's what Torah is. The Torah is supposed to give us light to open up our understanding about how things work. And the only way that you and I will fully understand how the Most High works is when we look at the things that he's given us, like our hands, and we look at our eyes. Not that he has it, but you got to understand, why did he give it to us? What is he trying to tell us? Okay. So I want you to keep in your mind during this presentation about your hands. I want you to think about this mind and this thought. Okay, so it's about everything. So it sounds like as if this is a human experience, but it's not. Okay, these are concepts that we need to understand how he's seeing things and how he's perceiving it and what he wants to do for us. One of the things that he did here is their groaning. Okay, now there's several different ways that a person can cry. Okay, let's get into just a few examples. I need class participation. What kind of cry? Tell me about some different cries.
Verbal?
Huh?
Verbally crying?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's verbal, but let me ask a better question. Why do people cry?
Oh, when they're hurt,
Yeah, you got hurt.
when
Okay.
they're sad, when they're happy.
You got sad. You can actually cry when you're happy. Okay. You can cry, when you have some joy. You can cry, for different reasons. You can there's another cry too, like you said that the hurt and the sadness, but it could be a pain that can make you cry.
Or when you need hope.
Yeah. Hunger, yes.
And mourning is a cry too, like like our sons being killed, like
Yeah.
the death of sons, like Pharaoh had planned in chapter 1.
Yes.
So yeah.
So you see that there's all different types of cries, right? So when he says that, I heard their groaning, right? He's talking about their cry. So if there's all these different types of ways that, reasons why a person cries, we have to kind of dial in and figure out, was it because they were hungry? Was it because they were mourning? What was it? And we see that a lot of things happen. There was a lot of death. They were killing their sons. Okay. And that's not only the death of the sons, but what about the other people, the family members that were dying from the labor? Let's open this up. Okay. What about the fact that people were even though they were getting married and they were having children, they always had that thought. And so there was this idea, this fear that was always upon them. And so at this moment, knowing the circumstances and the situation in which they lived, it was very difficult for them. It was very, very difficult. And so this cry for them wasn't just because of the labor, from the work. That was part of it too. Their bones were hurting. They were psychologically, physically, spiritually, economically, every way that you can think. They were in pain, they were in sorrow, they were in complete misery. It's important for us to understand this, because if we're going to understand our Elohim, we're going to understand what caused him to make a move, then we'll understand why he's going to make the move that he's going to make for us, okay, that he's did for them. So this idea about the cry, and thank you guys for your participation, it makes everything so much better. This cry in the Hebrew that's described in terms of their groaning is called na'akwa, okay? Na'akwa, and that's a noon, first letter, and then you got an aleph, and then you got a kof, and then you have a hey right here, okay? Na'akwa, okay? Na'akwa. So na'akwa is a different type of cry. It tells us something about how and what's behind this cry. And what I found is that this cry has to do with what you will call innocence. Okay. So when I say innocence, and I'm talking about a cry, an innocent cry, what do you think about? Who would have an innocent cry?
A child?
Yes, an infant. Okay, an infant, because this also has the connection to when they make the cry. When a baby cries, what happens to the mother? When an infant cries, what happens with the mother?
Those who try to console.
Distraught? Panic?
Yeah, it gets the mother goes in panic, but also too, if the baby's crying, out of, say, for example, hunger, what happens to the mother?
She gets a bottle.
Her
Yeah.
milk comes in. Her
Okay,
milk.
but yes, if she is nursing, what happens?
And her breast.
Her breasts begin to fill up, right?
Like El Shaddai.
Oh, see, now you trying to this girl gonna get on here. Yeah, praise God. Roquad just said it. The Most High is called El Shaddai. Okay, that's one of his titles. That's the title. Okay, right? And El is power, and this word Shad, S-H-A-D, means what? Rivqua?
Breast.
Okay, so El Shaddai means the power of, and this I right here means mine, the power of my breast. That's what it means. Okay, so when the children of Israel were crying out, he was saying, I'm like a mother that hears a child, an infant is crying out to me, crying out to be helped, to be, to be fed, to and when a child's crying, they're hungry, they're not saying, they can't verbalize it. Okay, so the cries are communication. And so the way that they're communicating to the Most High is through their crying. And the trippy part is that he literally understands this cry because he created the breast and he knows when an infant's crying out. Okay, go ahead, Rivqua.
I was just going to say that it doesn't matter what language that we cry out in, because Israel's been spread all over the world. Our cry is still the same. It may be in different. He's going to hear it.
Praise Yah, Rivqua.
Yeah,
So,
and then when El Shaddai is like, when I used to nurse, you would hear a baby's cry, but mostly your cry and then you would feel it's like you would want to provide and protect. That's awesome. Praise Yah.
And don't you see that in our Torah portion, when the baby cried, right? What did she say? What did little Miriam say?
She asked
Go ahead.
if you wanted her to get a maiden to feed him, to nurse him.
Yeah, you want me to go find someone to nurse the baby? And what caused that was that cry. You see, it's that cry. So I got the word shad here, right? And I just put it in English letters, but let's just break it down Hebraically. These two letters right here are a shin, okay? And what does the shin mean?
Two.
Means two. Thank you, Dr. Yared. And the door and the dalet. What does the dalet represent? Door. Okay, so we got what you would call two doors. Okay. In the ancient Hebrew, what kind of doors did they have?
Yeah.
The tent doors. So what shad means from an ancient Hebraic perspective are the two doors. Now the question is, if we've got two doors on a tent, just think about this for a second. Were those doors solid or what were they like?
Like flapping doors.
Yeah, they were, but did they open and close on hinges, or how did they open and close?
No, with no hinges.
So literally what they were doing is the tent doors were what they will dangle. They're danglers, okay? So when you think about a breast, okay, or breast, you're talking about two danglers. That's what the breasts are. The breasts are two danglers. That's why they move back and forth, because it has to do with the tent doors. Okay. That's what it means. Okay. So when that child began to cry, the first thing was, do you want me to go find someone to nurse it? Because the cry requires a response. That's what we're supposed to take from this. And why do we want to understand this? It's simply because in our same Torah portion, it says, then you are to tell Pharaoh, Yahweh says, Yisrael is my firstborn son. Not JC, not anybody else. Yisrael is my firstborn son. Some may say, well, didn't he say that Ephraim is his firstborn son? Yes, because Ephraim had took upon the name of Yisrael. I have told you, okay, to let my son go in order to worship me. But you have refused to let him go. Well, then, I will kill your firstborn son. Okay? This is what's behind this. This was right here was a direct threat that he sent to Pharaoh to send his child. Now, we think when he talks about send my son, we're thinking an older son, you know, so forth and so on. Yah's using the term son to let you know the relationship that he has with Yisrael. As we read earlier this week on Yom Kamishi, that you are my sons and you're my sons. You're all the sons of the Most High. Son here is a bane. If you want to feminize it, you make it a benoth. Okay, you put an oath on it. Still the same thing. Okay. So our genders have to do with who we are and how we work down here, but the Most High looks at us as both his sons and his daughters. The bane and the benoth are in his eye. Okay. Make sure you get my thought right. The sons and the daughters that belong to the Most High are his children, and he's looking for them to understand the relationship. Like, I'm your father. Okay. So when I tell you something, I need you to do it. Okay. So this child, going back to this child is one who needs and requires compassion, like we saw with Pharaoh's daughter. And there's the text. So let's make the connection. So she opened it up, she looked inside, and there in front of her was a crying baby. Okay. And moved with pity, meaning compassion, she said, this must be one of the Hebrews' children. The idea that we want to take away from this, and even in our study of the Torah, we always want to look for the verbs. Okay. We always want to look for what she was moved with and what she wanted to do and what did she say. She wanted to have, or she said, let's have compassion. She had pity. Okay. And this was coming out of a group and a family of people that her father, okay, was he pitiful? Was Pharaoh, did he show pity? No. Pharaoh didn't show any pity. He didn't show any pity. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
He didn't show any pity to the children of Israel, but yet his daughter was able to show us. So what does that tell us? What does that tell us? It tells us that the Most High looks at individuals, okay? Even though you might be a part of a family that might be terrible, you know, you yourself can be different. You don't have to follow what your family does, okay? He was also concerned not with the compassion, but also his pain. Now, when the Most High talked to us this week, they often talk about send them, you know, and all these sorts of pronouns, okay? He said, I am the Elohim of your father. This is in chapter 3, verse number 6. And this is the Most High introducing himself to Moshe. And he says, I'm the Elohim of your father. Okay. And he continued, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, the Elohim of Yakov. Again, we see that, you know, those three individuals that are always mentioned. Moshe covered his face because he was afraid to look at Elohim. And Yahweh said, I have seen how my people are being oppressed in Mitzrayim. And I heard their cry for for release from their slave masters because I know their pain. Interesting enough, in the Hebrew, it doesn't say that their cry or their slave masters or their pain. In the Hebrew, it says his. Okay. So now we see that the Most High sees Yisrael, Remember, he said that he's my what? He's
Firstborn.
my firstborn son. Singular. Okay. So when he's looking at the nation, he sees the nation as one individual. Okay. There's, like I said, there's a whole bunch of us, but he sees everyone as one. He doesn't see him individually. He doesn't look at just, this person and this person. He looks at them as a whole. So whatever he's going to do it for everybody. He's not going to leave some people out. Okay. Like other people want that to be the case. He's not going to do that. He also says that he understands his pain, but he also knows the purpose. He has a purpose behind it about why he's coming down to do what he has to do. He said, I have come down. And what's the word for come down?
You read.
Okay. I've come down to rescue. So if we were to look at this and say it, we would say Yared Yasha. Them from the Egyptians, and to bring them out of that country to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the place of the Ka'anini, the Kiti, the Imri, the Parisi, and the Kiwi, and the Yavusi. That's the Most High's reason for doing everything he's doing. The whole purpose of Yah's rescue plan is to bring them to a good and a spacious land. Okay, so when they get there, they won't have to be what? They will not be slaves to men. Okay, I don't have a slide in here, but I want you to know that even though you and I are not supposed to be slaves to men, you and I are supposed to be a slave to Yahweh. Dawid, where's that at? Leviticus chapter number 25. Yahweh says that you're my slave. What I've done is I've released you from your slavery so you can serve me. So it goes to ask the question, why we're in slavery to someone else, can you be a slave? Because slave and a servant are synonymous in the text. It's called an aved, aved. An aved is a servant or a slave, either or, okay? So either you could be a slave to men or you could be a servant to Elohim, okay? Or you could be a slave to Yah or you can be a servant to mankind. Which one do you want to serve? Who do you want to serve? Who do you want to be a slave to?
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
You want to be to Yahweh. So in the New Testament, they tell you about you can't serve two masters, right? They use that concept. But the other master that they're telling you is they're saying that either you're going to serve the creator, or he says in his thing, God, or you're going to serve the devil. That's who they got you thinking. They don't let you know that that serving what they say God or the devil, okay, one of the two. But this is not true. This is not true at all. And this is not true. This concept is not true. This idea is not supported because the Hebrew scriptures don't support God and the devil. Okay, because in the Greek it's called theos. And this other one here, they turned around and they tried to give him a name called Satan to kind of match Hasatan. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that you and I are servants to the Most High, but right now, because we're in our exile, we are enslaved, which a lot of us don't believe we are, to men. There's this concept and this idea of which you've heard called the Holocaust. Okay, I want to just touch on it briefly. Okay, I'm not being anti-Semitic by mentioning it. I just kind of want you to know where it comes from. All right. So the word Holocaust, when I was reading the Torah portion in the Hebrew, I found a word that was very similar to it. Sounds just like it. Okay. So the Holocaust, does anyone know what Holocaust means? I'll break it down. Those 4 letters right there means whole. Okay. Cost means burn. So what they were saying is that they're a whole burned offering. Okay. This is not a Hebrew word. Holocaust is a Greek word. That's a Greek, its origins are in Greek. It's not Hebrew. Okay, so go look it up and do your research for yourself and just kind of look at it and find out if what I'm saying is true. So the Holocaust, it means a whole burned, meaning wholly burned, like a whole burnt offering. And so that's what they're saying it happened to them, because they were put in gas chambers. All right. I don't know how you get gas chambers with being burned. Okay. But here's the deal. In the text this week, there's a word that is it sounds just like it. Okay. And it's consistent of these letters here. Okay. So it has a hey, and then it has this, and it has an L. Okay. And then another this, and then a ket, CH. Okay. So if you notice, I'm taking the names of the first letter of the Hebrew language, and I'm just taking, putting a letter up here. And this, and then this sound right here is a TZ. Halakats. Theirs are called a Holocaust. You see that? Now, what is a difference between a Holocaust, which is they consider to be a whole burnt, wholly burned, versus a Holocaust? A Holocaust means, right up here again, a Holocaust means to be squeezed. Okay, you're going to be squeezed with pressure. That's what a Holocaust means. So technically, you and I can say that the sons and daughters of Israel went through a Holocaust. They went through a Holocaust. Okay, so don't forget that. That's what they went through. They went through an extreme amount of pressure. They're being squeezed. Okay, that's what a Holocaust means. Within that word, Holocaust, the Holocaust, there's this word in here called lots, from this lamed, which is this one, and then this zadi right here, which is this one. Okay, so in the Hebrew language, you could take a word like Holocaust, and you can find another word in it. And you have to say, well, what does these letters mean? So what does the letter lamed actually represent? What does it mean?
Staff, authority.
Staff and authority. Okay. And then, okay, oh, I love what you just said. They said authority. Let me not forget that. And then the zadi right here, this means a man on his side. A man who's on his side is usually one who's in trouble. The one who's laying on his side is, in the Hebrew understanding, is one who's in trouble. I forgot exactly how to draw the picture, but a zadi is a man laying on his side. And laying on his side means that he's literally going to either be or to do an ambush. Okay. So when you put these two ideas together, and it's the staff and authority, okay, it really literally means, and I'll go right here. So in the word Holocaust, we got lots. It means a tongue of trouble. That's what it means. That tongue right there is the lamed, because that's which a person speaks by. They speak by their tongue. Their tongue is their authority. So we see that a staff doesn't only mean something to lead and to guide and to teach. Okay. We see that when the Most High puts a staff on something, he's literally saying, I'm going to speak. I'm speaking to you. Okay. When he's speaking to us, that letter lamed in Hebrew means to teach. or to guide. Okay. And it also has the idea of to learn, because that's what a person does when they're being taught something. So this word lot wasn't used as some way for learning. It wasn't used for something to teach. It wasn't for guiding, the purpose of guiding to a better place. What this was is that they were speaking with their authority to bring trouble on the sons of Israel. The tongue was being used, not just, we think, well, their labor was hard and was difficult, but how they were spoken to brought trouble, a tongue of trouble. So what were they doing? They scorned the sons of Israel. They thought that the children of Israel were worthless, and they're despicable, and they're not worthy of anything good. And they hated them. So they would speak to them in a certain way. They would mock them. They would make fun of them. They would taunt them. So when they're, whipping them, and the word whip is actually used, I didn't put it in the slides, but there's a word that in the Hebrew that talks about a whip. When it talks about putting taskmasters over them, it literally means that they were being whipped. So we have all these ideas of being whipped, being mocked, being made fun of, going through hard labor. So it wasn't just the physical. They were doing a tongue lashing on them anytime they had a chance. Look at these people. Look at these Ivri. Oh, they make me sick. Keep working. Shut up. Da 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 da. Okay. So this is what's going on. How they were being spoken to. Why is this important for us to understand? Because this is what the Most High is saying, I'm going to rescue you from. I'm going to rescue you from the Holocaust. I'm going to rescue you from the lots, the tongue of trouble. I'm going to rescue you from the pressure. Okay. Our next word is called Sane. Does anyone remember what Sane means? It's okay. Yes, you want to say something, Koti?
Yeah, I was just saying that, but the trouble that Israel would have has nothing to do with like burning. It was like Mitzrayim. It was bondage that the Most promised us, and the loss of heritage and stuff. He never said that we would be burned in holes.
It's the pressure of the pressure. And so the thing is, thank you for that contribution, is the pressure of life. Life is hard as it is, but for someone else to add the pressure and to be squeezing you, okay? They're trying to squeeze more out of you. You got to do a bigger quota than you did yesterday. Now that you brought this information to me about you want to go and serve the Most High, now I'm going to put some pressure on you now. Now I'm going to squeeze you even more, okay? That's what an oppressor does. They put pressure and they squeeze. Sane, this letter right here is a samak, okay? And it means to turn, okay? Like a snake. You hear the snake. And what does the snake do? The snake turns, okay? So when a snake is turning, and it can go, and a snake can wrap around something. When it wraps around something, what does the snake do? It squeezes its prey, okay? Then we have here the noon, which is the seed, okay? So a turning of the seed, okay? And what is a seed? The seed in this case is a thorn bush, okay? So the thorn bush, and this means to turn, and so you can turn away from the thorn bush. So there's all different types of concepts that's in this word, the squeezing, the turning, turning away from the thorn bush. And that's hatred. That means to turn away from something that can cause you pain, okay? So he says that they hated the children of Israel. Not only did they were in a Holocaust, okay, but they were being squeezed and pressured, but also too, they're hated. Listen to this. Oh, come on. Yisrael too came into Mizraim. Yakov lived as an alien in the land of Kam. There Elohim made his people very fruitful. He made them too numerous for their foes, whose hearts he turned. The Most High has turned the hearts of these people to hate his people and to treat his servants unfairly. Do you remember when Moshe asked in chapter number 5, why have you done this to your people? Because after they delivered the message that Yahweh told him to go say to Pharaoh, Pharaoh turned up the pressure. He turned up the heat, and he's like, okay, now it's time for you to get to work. You guys are lazy. You want to go serve the Most High. So let's do this. Let's increase your labor. Okay. And that's generally what they do. You want to serve and do other things that have to do with something that has nothing to do with our program. We're going to turn the pressure up. And the way that they get us, and this is something the Most High wants us to know, is that what they're going to do is they're going to increase your workload to keep you busy so you can't serve Yah. And he knows that. And this is the reason why he gives you the Shabbat. This is why it's so important for you to get the Shabbat and to get it off and to do anything possibly you can to get it off, because he understands what they're doing. They're putting the workload on you to keep you from worship. Okay. So it's not just, religious. This is the truth. Okay. So Yah has caused these people to hate his people and to treat his servants unfairly. Verify what I say. Okay. So everything that they were going through, the pressure they were going through, the lots that they were going, the holocaust that they were going through, was because Yahweh is the one who turned those people against his people. And you ask yourself, why? Why would the Most High do such a thing? Why would he cause someone to hate us? Because he's trying to drive his people to him. And he's trying to show us that you can't be on both sides. You can't love your oppressor. You can't love the people that are squeezing you. You can't love them because they don't have any good for you. The conversations that they were having were just not when the Hebrew Israelites are out working and they were talking crazy to them. This was a theme that was going on even in their homes. And the reason they taught their children, you don't want to be like these Hebrews, you see? Don't be like them. Look at them, so don't think that that wasn't the conversation. I have some words here that I'm going to share with you right quick. One is called Nicole, and Sherlock, and Zakar. These are words that some of these you already know, like Sherlock and Zakar, but there's other words that you don't know. You say, well, Akika, why are you introducing us to these words? We don't know what these words mean. You're here because I'm supposed to teach you what this means. I'm supposed to teach you this. I'm supposed to teach you. Okay. I have to teach you about a culture. Okay. I have to teach you about this culture because this culture is your culture. That's what it belongs to you. And if you don't understand your culture, which includes your language, then you're just existing to exist. You have no purpose. And you're not going to have anything beneficial in your life because you're closed-minded. You got to open your mind up to learning new things. Okay. So Nicole means to be cleverly deceitful. So when the children of Israel were going through what they were going through, their oppressors were dealing with them in this way. Okay, which is called Nicole. Okay. And this here is to say that whatever they wanted or was, planning for them, they were planning things, and anything that they did tell them, they never told them the truth because that was part of their plan. When someone's trying to deceive you, okay, and someone's trying to get over on you, they're going to deal with you in this way. It's going to be very clever. Okay. I was reading a report, and what they want to do with the what they call a cultural landscaping is they're looking, well, how can we deal with racism? And they said the best way to deal with racism is through marriage and of course sex. This is what we want to do. What we want to do is have other races of people and other cultures either marry each other or have sex so we can have children. Not sex for pleasure. They understand that the reason why a person has sex is for children. So what we need to do in order to get rid of this idea of racism and this, change the cultural landscaping, so we can hide and make a clear difference, right? We're tired of the differences. We don't want there to be this culture. So we don't want there to be Hebrew people. We don't want the Hebrew culture anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this out, and we're going to have them engage either in marriage or sexual behavior to have children. So what we could do is we can mix the cultures so we can get rid of this, because that's the problem, because their way of life is different. So we have to do is create another culture, and we're only can do that through being cleverly deceitful. So on the surface, and this also too, by us doing this, it also allows us to, we can hide what they would call the homosexual agenda and the transgender agenda. We can hide those agendas inside of marriage and sexual behavior, because now everything is everything. Everybody belongs to everybody, because what we are is we're only one group of people. And they say that one group is called humanity. And what we don't want anymore is we don't want any differences. We don't want anybody to make any differences between anybody. So we have to destroy the culture. And this is what it is. Okay. So in their case, they say we're going to cleverly be deceitful with them. They have a plan. If we can work them to death, we're going to work them so hard that it's going to discourage them. What's going to discourage them from? Somebody tell me. If you're being worked all day long, 7 days a week, why would? Yes, thank you. Procreate. You're trying to discourage procreation because you're too tired. Okay, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get rid of that. Okay, so there's all kind of problems, and that's how they do it. Okay, this idea about Sherlock. Somebody, do you know what Sherlock means? And if you do, don't hold back. Tell the class.
To send.
Thank you. Sherlock means to send. Okay. Sherlock. It means to send. And of course, it could be sent away. It could be just sent regularly, in a regular way. But, it just means to send. That's its basic root meaning. Okay. You can forcefully send, and you can just basically send. Right. But the bottom line is that Yah has sent his servants, okay, Moshe and Aharon, whom he had chosen. He chose to send these people, these individuals, to the children of Israel. And that's because of who they were and what they represent. I have a question for you. If you were to look over here, I want you to tell me which one of these ones, who is the draw close and who's the light bearer, and tell me why. Is Moshe the one who draws close, or is he the one a light bringer? Or is Aharon the draw close or the light bearer? Huh?
Say Moshe is the light bringer, but Aaron is the draw close only because of him being able to speak. That's what was my interpretation.
Oh, okay. I like that. Someone else?
They're both.
Huh. Interesting. Yes, I like to provoke thought. So here's the answer. From their names alone, okay, just based on their names alone, Moshe is going to be the draw close. Aharon is going to be the light bringer, okay, based on their names. But you're not wrong. And the reason why you're not wrong, Dr. Kavika, or you're not Dr. Yared, is simply because Aharon is the one who will draw close on his behalf, on Moshe's behalf. The light bringer, and I'm going to explain this, I'm going to break it down, okay? The light bringer is the one, Moshe, he's bringing light, okay? So they're working together, okay, in unison. But according to their names, okay, Moshe is the one who was drawn out of the water. Okay. Aharon, his name is the light bringer because of what his responsibilities are. So let's talk about it. All right. So great answers, and they're both correct. So the draw close is to pull out. So you're going to pull something out so you can bring it close to you. You're going to grab hold. Okay. So when you grab hold or you pull out or you bring it close, what are you using?
Your hands.
You're using your hand, like I told you. So you're using your yod. Okay. And remember, if I just want to say to call it yada, that means that I know you. Okay. So yod is a hand, and yada means to know, to be intimate with, to draw close, to grab hold, to bring something close to me. Okay. So when it talks about the Most High, says, I know, I yada what's going on. I know, I understand. What he's saying is, I'm going to take hold of you. I'm going to grab hold of you with my hand. Okay. And I'm going to bring you close to me. And so who did he choose first to bring this? So who is it?
Moshe.
Moshe. Because Moshe is the one who was pulled out of the water. Okay. Moshe is the one who, his cry grabbed hold of the woman for compassion. Okay. Moshe is the one that was brought close. You understand? And when he was brought close, where was he brought close to? After he started crying, the young girl said, should I what? Should I go find and bring a woman who can nurse him to bring him what? Close. So the Most High is saying, my child is crying. I'm going to use Moshe to pull them out. I'm going to use Moshe to grab hold of them so they can bring them closer to me. You see, then you will know that I know you and you know me. I know you. I yada. Okay. I understand your situation. And I ain't talking about just in Mitzrayim. I'm talking about right now, today. I have you. I understand. I know who you are. I'm going to pull you out and I'm grabbing hold of you with my hand. And I'll only do that through Moshe, all through his teachings. I hope you guys can see that. That's a beautiful thing, because that's Yah's goal. The reason why you're reading the Torah is so Yah can pull you out and take hold of you and grab hold of you with his hand and bring you close. This is what his goal is. This is the reason for the rescue. The rescue is not just to say that you're just these people, it's to have an intimate relationship with you. In terms of the light bringer, he said of Lewi, he said, and this is found in Deuteronomy chapter number 33, Moshe said these words right before he died. He said of Lewi, he said, let your Thummim and Urim be with your pious one. He's talking to Yah. Lewi is the family in which Moshe and Aharon come from. And it says pious. Pious means to be dedicated. I said earlier this week that they had a sense of dedication and they were devoted to the Most High on a whole nother level. A lot of us want to be close to the Most High, but if you're going to be close to the Most High, you have to become pious. You have to be devoted. He says, you tested him at Massa, with whom you struggled at Merah Spring. When we're with Yah in devotion, it doesn't mean there's not going to be a struggle. It doesn't mean that you're never going to be tested. It doesn't mean that. The ones who are tested and the ones who prevail and go through those tests and succeed and stand firm, those are the ones, okay, that are going to draw close and they're going to be responsible for drawing others. Okay. So he says of his father and his mother, he said, I don't know them. That's how devoted he was. He put the Most High first. He didn't acknowledge his own, his brothers or children. He didn't acknowledge them. That means that whatever Yah says is what Yah says. I don't care about what you're talking about. See? And is this the mindset just for the Lewiim? No, this is the mindset for anyone who, what does Lewi's name mean?
Joy.
So anybody who's willing to join and be with the Most High to be a light bearer are going to be the ones who put everybody else down. Why? For he observed your word and he kept your covenant. They will teach Yakov your rulings and Yisrael your Torah. The goal for us as a people is to learn from the Lawiim, is to take on that same attitude of piousness, is to be dedicated and not to acknowledge anyone. It means for us to struggle. It means you're going to go through it. It means that you are going to be examined. To be close to the Most High, this royal deity, the only one who exists, is one of great consequence. Zakar. What does Zakar mean? Zakar. Zakar. Huh?
Remember?
Thank you. It means remember, but also too, it remembers the what? The male, because a male is called a Zakar. Okay, I have to speed it up. A male is a Zakar. It means to remember, a memorial. So let me tell you something. So I remember things. So listen, I put this here because it's something that you and I need to always do, and that is to be reminded. Listen what this prayer was from this Psalms in 77. He says, so I will remind myself of Yah's doings. Yes, I will remember. Same word. Okay. Your wonders of old. I will meditate on your work and think about what you have done. That's a prayer. That's a prayer. We need to be reminded of what Yah has done. Often we don't want to think about what he's done, because he hasn't done it for us. So, it's not important to us. We have to be reminded, and we have to remember the wonders of old. We have to think about what Yah has done. We have to meditate on his work, and we have to think about what he has done. You understand? So that's the thing that he wants us to meditate and remember and remind ourselves is of him, not our own. Elohim, your way is in set apartness, and it's in Kadosh. What God is as great as Elohim? You are the Elohim who does wonders. You revealed your strength to the peoples. With your arm, you redeemed your people, the descendants of Yaakov and Yosef. These are the things that he wants to remind us about. The wonders that Yah has done are the things that have been done in Mitzrayim. He doesn't want us to forget that narrative. So when someone else comes with another story and they're telling you about, somebody feeding 5,000 and turning water into wine and, raising somebody from the dead and all this other sort of stuff, and that's trying to overshadow what he's done. And he's like, no, remember what Yah has done. You see? This is a big part of our study, which is called self-doubt. I found within the Torah portion this week and this idea of self-doubt. And that doubt was coming from within Moshe. He was very doubtful about himself and his abilities. Therefore, now come and I will send you to Pharaoh so that you can lead my people. So the descendants of Israel, right? The descendants of Israel out of Mizraim. Moshe said to Elohim, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and lead the people of Israel out of Mizraim? It seems like it was a very humble statement. But if you continue to read through the Torah, you will find that this was not just a humble statement. It was a statement of self-doubt. It was a statement of fear. It was a statement of inadequacy. Okay. And we all feel this sometimes when we have to, do a task of such, magnitude as to go on behalf of the Most High, right? And it's normal and it's natural. But I want you to shema. I want you to listen. Listen carefully. Okay, I'm going to introduce this to you just in case you forgot. That a wicked and an adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, but there shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and he departed. This is by the anonymous author of the book of Matthew, chapter number 16, verse 4. Akika Dawid, why would you bring such a profane thing into the study today? Why would you do it? Because I want you to be aware of something. The Most High, in our self-doubt, Yah understands that in a situation where a person doesn't believe something, okay, he has to cause them to believe. And he has to introduce them to certain things to cause them to see things. You need to see things, okay? This person, whoever wrote this, said that a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after something to see, a sign. A sign is like a stop sign or a construction zone sign or don't pass here sign or a caution sign. A sign is something that you can physically see, okay? So this idea that we've been taught that you and I should not look for nothing, right? That you're supposed to just believe, okay, is not true, okay? It's not true. This self-doubt comes because you don't want to see the signs that are right from before your very eyes, okay? There's all types of signs that are out there. God uses signs. That's why I introduced that to you. Because this other person over here says, you shouldn't look for a sign. If you did, you're wicked. Yah has only dealt with Israel with signs. Okay. And the word for sign is called oath. Right here. Okay. It sounds like O-A-T-H. Okay. Which it could be, you know, is written this way. Okay. In English is this, but this is what it is. And they're one and the same, meaning that it's something that's sworn. Okay. It's an actual signal. Because if you look at the word sign, all you got to do is put that on there as a signal. That's what a sign is for. A sign is to give you a signal. Okay. That's what a sign is. So the Most High is going to give them signals to let them know that what? I sent you. The Hebrew word for sign is this. It's written as an aleph, a wah, and a tav. That's how you write it. Okay. So we see aleph here is the strength. Is the strength of what?
Ox.
It's the strength of an ox. Okay. So the aleph comes from this ancient Hebrew that looks like that. Okay. The wah right here is a tent peg. And it means to what? What does a tent peg do?
This was stability.
Yes, it does that. It also joins things together. Okay. It's a connector. That's what a tent peg does. It connects. So we see a connection between this wah right here is connecting this with this. Okay. And what's a ta?
Two sticks crossed.
Yes. They usually put it as a cross to make you think they're talking about the cross of JC. Is actually like this. Okay. What they would do is they would put two sticks in the ground. Okay. And let me show it to you. They would put two sticks in the ground like this. Okay. And then the ox over here, right? The ox would then have to travel to this point, this destination. Okay. And the ox had to have vision, right? And it doesn't have its own vision. It has to be what?
Guided, led.
It has to be led. Okay. Okay. It has to be led and directed with a shepherd's staff. Okay. To get it where it needs to go. Okay. So the idea is joining the ox to the mark. That's what that was for. Okay. As we've been discussing today, the aleph, or excuse me, the lamed is to learn. And it means, and it also now is authority, and also means it speaks. Okay. So when the shepherd is hitting this ox, okay, or guiding or pushing it, he's making sure that it stays what?
On the path.
On the path. Is that path like this? Or is that path like this?
The latter.
It's straight. That's what the Most High's desire is to lead someone on the path. Okay. Now, in this example, he's trying to get to here. Okay. And he's what? Okay. That's what it is. So it's the Aleph connected to the Tav. And I'm writing it left to right just so you can understand, but it's supposed to be right to left. Okay. It's supposed to actually go this way. All right. So what is a Sheresh? What's a Sheresh? Shoresh. What's a Shoresh? That's okay. You don't remember? It's a root. That's all it is. That's what it means in Hebrew, a root. Okay. So what is the root of this word? Well, let's look. Let's find out. Because roots tell you something. All right. And those of you who've been in my Hebrew class, you'll be like, oh, look at this. That's the root. That's the root. The root is an Aleph and a Tav. And those in my Hebrew class, what's an Aleph and a Tav? What does it mean?
It's a arrow pointing.
Thank you. It's an arrow. It's an arrow. And it's called a direct object marker. Okay. It's a direct object marker and a direct object marker. So when you look in the Hebrew scriptures, you'll see that the Aleph Tav all the time. So now that you see it, you'll understand what it means. Okay. It means the ox and it means the mark. So this is why it's leading you to somewhere. So anytime you read the Hebrew scriptures and you see the Aleph Tav, you'll be like, oh, this is an arrow pointing me to my, which one would say my destination. I'm supposed to be looking at the next letter or the next word. That's what I'm supposed to be looking at. For example, he says, Badra Elohim eth Hashamayim. That means that Elohim created what? And then it points directly to what it was, which is the heavens. So that's what the Aleph Tav is. Okay. What is the Hebrew language? What's the big first letter of the Hebrew language?
Aleph.
What's the last letter?
Tav.
Thank you. So if I have the Aleph and then the Tav is the end, I have to go, okay, and you put them together, it's an arrow that points you somewhere. So all the way from the Aleph to the Tav is all these other letters, right? So the Hebrew language, the alphabet, consists of the Aleph all the way to the Tav. So if you know the Hebrew language, Aleph, Bet, the Gimel, the Dalet, the Hey, you know, the Wa, the Zion, the Ket, the Tet, the Yod, the Kaf, the Lamed, the Mem, the Nun, the Samak, the Ayin, the Pei, the Zadi, the Kof, the Resh, the Shin, and the Tav. It's going from here to get to all where you need to go. You're taking a journey. You understand? From A to, they say with A to Z, this is Aleph to Tav. So after you finish learning your Hebrew alphabet, you have accomplished your goal. You should know the alphabet by heart. Okay. So from here to here, so you can understand what all those words are pointing you to. So this is the alphabet pointing you to whatever it is that you're supposed to be looking at, because it's a destination. It also has an extended meaning of a plow, because that's the action that a person is taking. They're actually plowing the ground. So when you do the alphabet and you go to Hebrew class, you're plowing. You're preparing the soil for your learning, so you can plant different things. And once you plant it, you'll learn about the stems. You'll learn about, you'll see your plant coming up and then you have to water it and all that. And then at the end of your season, you'll be able to harvest. Okay. So if you don't learn the Hebrew language, you're not plowing. If you're not plowing, you're not planting. If you're not planting, you're not harvesting. You're not sowing. Okay. If you're not sowing, you're not going to harvest. If you don't harvest, you don't eat. Okay. So if you want to eat and you want to be rich in abundance and you want to have something to look at after all your work and the work that you're supposed to be doing as a servant of the Most High, then you should learn Hebrew. Okay. Here I brought out this idea about plowing. He said, he replied, I will surely be with you. Your sign, there's a sign. You have a sign. I'm going to give you a sign that I have sent you, will be that when you have led the people out of Mizraim, you will worship Elohim on this mountain. Moshe needed a sign. Y'all want to give him a sign. Why? Why do y'all want to give him a sign? Why did he need a sign? Why?
I think because he was already skeptical about doing what Yahweh wanted him, so he needed something that he could see to make sure it was.
Yes, he was very skeptical, right? He didn't believe. He didn't believe he had the power and ability. It was something foreign to him. So Yah says, I'm going to give you a sign. Okay? I'm going to give you a sign. Remember, the New Testament says, evil and the wicked generation seeketh after a sign. So why did Yah give him a sign? To him. And he's going to go worship on what mountain? This mountain. What's this mountain? What mountain did he tell him he's going to go to? Where was he when he said this?
Was it Mount Horeb?
Yes, and Mount Horeb is actually Mount Sinai. So he already took him, he already met him at the place where he was going to finally bring him. You see? So when I talk about the oath right here, think about the oath. We just went over what the oath is. The oath is the Aleph and the Tav. It means to plow. So what I'm doing with Moshe is I'm getting him to plow the ground. I'm getting him to take the shepherd's staff that I put in his hand. He's going to use that staff to do what? Lead the people out of Mizraim. I'm taking you to go grab my sheep, but I need you to do the work. Plowing means work. You see? After you've done this work, you're going to arrive at your X. You're going to arrive at your destination. That's where you're going to arrive after you do the work. So what you and I need to understand is that the reason why you want a sign, so you can arrive at your destination. When the New Testament tells you that you don't need a sign, don't worry about your destination. You don't have a destination. That's why they gave you heaven, because you can't see it. It means you don't have to do any work. That means that you don't have to be worried about being led by nobody. That means that a group of fishermen can come around and tell you that this is the way that you get to the Most High. Telling you something completely foreign and different that you ain't never heard. Our fathers, they never heard nothing like that. And told you that you're wicked because you desire a sign. Because you want to know for sure what is the destination. I'm going to give you a sign so you'll know that I sent you. What is the destination? What is it? Where does he want to lead him? I want to lead you to this place. Dabarim 4 says this: only be careful and watch yourselves diligently as long as you live, so that you won't forget what you saw with your own eyes. You opened your eyes so that these things won't vanish from your hearts. He's talking to them. And he's not talking to the first generation. He's talking to the second generation after he finished killing off the first generation. Rather, make them known to your children, your grandchildren, the day that you stood before Yahweh, your Elohim, at Koreth. which they got as Horeb, but it's Koreb, which is Mount Sinai. When Yahweh said to me, gather the people to me. Okay? Gather. And that word gather right there is called Quahal. Quahal. The shepherd's staff is in there. This right here means to gather. Why? With the staff. I need you to gather them to me. That's why I gave you my staff. Because my staff will speak to them when I tell you to throw the staff on the ground. What is it going to turn into? It's going to turn into a snake. If I tell you to hit the water with the staff, what's going to happen to the water? It's going to turn into blood. You understand? I will make them hear my very words so that they would learn the lamed. That word right there is lamed, which is the shepherd's staff. To hold me in awe as long as they live on earth, so that they will teach lamed their children. That's the reason why I called you to the destination. I gave you a sign. That sign I put in your hand is that staff. And if you lead these people to where I told you, so they can see with their very eyes about what my intention is. They can see that there is no human being that is nothing but fire, and a voice will speak out of it. So they would hold me in awe as long as they live on the earth. And when they see this, it reminds them of me leading them and to guide them and teach them. At that destination is Mount Koreb, Mount Sinai, where you get the 10 words of the Most High. That was written on a Lakos, which has the first word, which is a lamed. So you can learn. Your destination is Mount Sinai. Our destination is going back out to the desert so Yahweh can speak to us again. That's your destination. And you can't get to that destination without a sign from the Most High. You cannot get to your destination without Yahweh putting this sign on you. You need this. Look at it again. You need the Aleph all the way down, and I join you to the top. You need the Hebrew Aleph bet. I'm leading you with the Hebrew alphabet to your destination. You're not going to get there when somebody else don't understand your culture. You're not going to know the seriousness of the situation that we're in if you don't understand this. Your sign is the Hebrew alphabet. It tells you everything. It tells you who I am. It tells you what I mean when I say that I know you. It tells you the difference between clean and unclean. It tells you that you didn't have no faith, that I caused you to have faith. It tells you that you're weak and I need to make you strong. It tells you that I need to bandage you up. It tells you that I need to lead you and guide you. It tells you that it's about your weaknesses. I share intimate details with you to let you know that I know. Moshe was weak. He was weak. Our teacher, our shepherd that Yah sent was weak. He was weak, but it doesn't mean he ain't gonna be strong. How you begin is not how you're going to end. He gives us this example to show us what he could do with somebody that has weakness. Moshe replied, but I'm certain that they won't believe me. They won't listen to what I say because they'll say Yahweh did not appear to you. He's making up excuses. What's in question is whether or not you and I are going to believe what Yahweh says. It's not about whether or not we're going to believe what he says, it's whether or not we're going to believe what Yahweh has said. In his weakness, he said, I'm certain. I'm certain that they won't believe me. You're telling me that I called you to do a work, but you know for sure that it's not going to turn out, it's going to turn out differently? He's making assumptions on the Most High, and that's a weakness. This question of belief is something that you and I need to talk about. That word belief right here has to do with this word called emunah. You may hear it in the Greek word called faith, which they have a Greek word called pistis. This is not pistis, this is emunah. Can you hear the difference? Pistis versus emunah. They're two different concepts. When I looked at this Torah this week, I was like, okay, so what is this really about? It's about this here. Yah's showing us something. He's showing the weaknesses of men. He's not going to show you just the weakness of Pharaoh. He's not going to just show you the weakness of the children of Israel. He's not going to show you the weakness of a mind that's completely against him. He's going to show you the weaknesses that you and I have, and he's going to show us his strength. He wants us to know that when I save you, I don't need anybody that's strong to save you. I can take somebody who is uncertain about their own selves, but they're certain about things they don't know nothing about. When you talk about emunah, what are we talking about? We've been talking about it several weeks. It has these letters in it. But the two letters that are the main concern are these. The mem and the nun. The mem is the water or any other kind of fluid. This is the seed. Okay, this water right here could be blood. The blood of the seed. It means the continuation of the seed, to continue the family. But it also has this idea about being firm, meaning a kind. So whatever type of person you are and whatever genetic material you have that's in your blood, you're going to pass that on to the next generation. And not only are you going to pass on the genetic material, but you're also going to pass on the other information. You're going to transmit the information that you know to the next generation. So if you're an idiot, you're going to pass on stupidity to your children. If you decide that you don't want to listen, you're going to pass on to your children. You understand? You're going to continue the same stuff that you were given. You know, if you're bright and you're smart and you pay attention, you'll pass that information on to your children. It's very simple. Whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. That's what it is. So this idea has this word too called aman. That's part of this word. And aman means to be a pillar. And it means to be firm. Okay. And in the English, they call it amen. You switch out the letters A-M-E-N. Amen. After they say something, oh, amen. So that means that this is true. That's what they said is true. Okay. But aman doesn't mean that it's just true. Okay. It's not an abstract term. It actually has to do with a pillar. But it also means that something that grabs hold or supports something else. Earlier, I told you the Most High says that what I'm going to do is I'm going to take hold of you. That's what I'm going to take hold of you. So when I give someone a sign, I'm taking hold of them by what they see. I designed the eye in order to see something. I brought you to Mount Sinai, which they call Horeb, to see my glory, to see my fire, so I can take hold of your heart. Put your device on mute, or your mind. That's my goal. I have to give you a sign so I can take hold of you, so I can grab you, and I can show you, to convince you about something, okay, that's firm, something that's true, the truth. You understand? That's what I want to do. Because if I can do that, that word actually has to do with, when I say the kind, actually has to do with a species. You're a certain type of people. You're the people that I have grabbed hold of. And if I can't grab hold of you, you can't grab hold of nobody else. That's what it is. So what I need to do is I need to strengthen you. So what I'm going to do for you, Moshe, is I'm going to strengthen you. Do you see that staff in your hand? Yeah, throw it on the ground. Came a snake. He got scared. Take it, grab it by his tail. You see your hand? Yeah, stick it inside your garment. Pull it out. What color is Zazarah? Is completely white. White as snow. Okay, put it back in. Okay, take it out. They don't believe these two signs, then go ahead, go to the water, pour it on the ground and turn to blood. Yah understands that you and I need signs. Okay? You need a sign. That's what this is about. But we see that Moshe in our Torah portion, because of he's certain that they won't believe him. He's certain. He ain't did the work or nothing, but he's certain. Okay? But you see this idea of hesitancy. He's very hesitant. Very hesitant. What is Most High trying to tell us? He's going to tell us something about this hesitancy. He's going to tell us something about this, what you would call reluctancy. Moshe said to Yahweh, "Oh, Master, I'm a terrible speaker." Seems like, again, it seems very humble, doesn't it? I'm a terrible speaker. I always have been. I'm no better now, even after you've spoken to your servant. My words come slowly. My tongue moves slowly. What is he saying? What is he saying here? What is the excuse? What excuse is he using to be so hesitant about what Yah's asking him to do? What is he doing? Somebody tell me.
He's telling him that he doesn't speak very well.
And he's using his disability. He's using a disability to tell the Most High that he doesn't have the ability to do what Yah wants him to do. That's what he's saying. I am disabled. I can't do this. Okay? I can't do it. He wasn't focused on his ability. What he was focused on was his disability. And that's a problem. You see? So don't let your disability or the areas in your life that you have challenges with to cause you not to do the work that God wants you to do, which is the work in your life. Stop making excuses. Yahweh answered him, "Who gives a person a mouth? Who makes a person dumb or deaf? Huh? Keen-sighted or blind? Isn't it I, Yahweh? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and will teach you what to say." But guess what he says? He replied, "Please, masters, send someone else. Anyone you want. Anyone else but me." Sounds very humble, very noble, right? The fact of the matter is, it's an insult to the Most High. This is an insult to the Most High, okay? So what I learned from this is that if you did have a disability, if you were blind, if you are deaf, if you are poor, if you are successful, whatever it is that you may be, Yahweh is the one who's caused it. Yahweh causes everything, every single thing. And he's not, if he calls us in a state of blindness, or even you have the best sight, whatever he needs to do in our lives, it doesn't matter what our situation is. We can have ability based on Yah being with us. Yah is one of provision. We know earlier this week, we talked about the provision that these compassionate women had on this child. Yah is showing us that even if these women, okay, just like a woman who has a nursing child, or a woman who would see a child in a basket and take it and have compassion on her, or like a woman who would build an ark and put the baby in it and show compassion to it, I'm just as more capable of doing for you what other people have done. Where do you think that compassion came from? Where do you think that ingenuity came from? Where do you think that beauty comes from? Where do you think it comes from? Where do you think the cry that you just coming out your mouth came from? Why do you think I gave it to you? Why did I make you blind? So I can heal you, so you'll know I have the power to change your mind. Because I'm an Elohim of provision. I'll give you what you need when you need it. And at this, Yahweh's anger blazed up against Moshe, and he said, don't you have a brother, Aharon the Leviim? I know that he's a good speaker. I know that. In fact, here he is now coming to meet you, and he'll be happy to see you. Moshe made Yah angry based on what he said. But Yah gives provision. Yahweh Yoreh. Provision means to see. Yahweh sees. He already knew that Aharon was coming because he called Aharon. So what are we to learn from this? Yahweh has somebody already moving in place. If he tells us to do something, just do it. I know what your problem is, Moshe. I know that you can't speak. I already got your brother on the way. Don't act like I don't know what's going on. I provide. Yahweh Yoreh. Yoreh here means to see. Here's an example for us. Abraham raised his eyes and he looked, and there behind him was a ram caught in the bushes by its horns. Abraham went and he took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in the place of his son. Abraham called the place Yahweh Yoreh. Yahweh will see to it. Yahweh provides, as it is said to this day, on the mountain Yahweh is seen. Oh, really? What mountain? Yahweh's been seen on a mountain, Mount Sinai. Abraham went and did what Yahweh said, but Yah had already provided a ram before he even went there. This ram was not, didn't fall out the sky and land in the thickets. It wasn't a miracle. Yah had already sent the ram before Abraham even got there. He already sent him there. Yah was sending Aharon, even though he called Moshe. There's a difference between Abraham's actions and Moshe's actions. Abraham trusted Yah and did what he said in obedience, and then asked no questions, just did it. So we see this weakness, okay? But Yah's going to strengthen him, and I'm going to talk about that. So don't think I'm bad-mouthing Moshe. I'm not. I'm telling you what it is, because we can look at Moshe's life and see a lot of things in our own lives that we like to use excuses on why we can't do what he asked us to do. Yah is already there before you get there. He's on the corner before you even get there. He uses this name or this title, Eye, this action. Eye means to exist. You will speak to him. Yah telling Moshe, you will speak to him and I will put the words in his mouth. Okay, excuse me. You will speak to him, to who? Aharon, and put the words in his mouth, and I will be, meaning Eye, with your mouth and his, teaching you both what to do. Because it's always going to be about me teaching. Thus, he will be your spokesman to the people, and in fact, for you, he will be a mouth. And for him, you will be like Elohim. Now take this staff, this sign in your hand. Take this staff in your hand, because you will need it to perform the signs. You need it in order to do this, because my people need to see something, because it's a matter of their emunah. I need to firm them up. I need to make sure that they continue. And the only way that they're going to continue is if they trust what I'm saying. But again, reluctancy is his thing. Here's another example of the reluctancy that you'll find in your Torah portion. At a lodging place on the way. Now, after he takes that staff and He's ready to go on his way. Of course, Aaron is not with him. Remember, Yah said, here he comes. He wasn't there yet. He had to make a move. He had to do what Yah says. And at a lodging place, Yahweh met Moshe and would have killed him. Had it not, Sephora had taken a flintstone to cut off the foreskin of her son. Individual. Singular. Not sons. Son. She threw it at his feet. What? The foreskin. Saying, what a bloody bridegroom you are for me. But then Elohim let Moshe be. He didn't kill him. She added, a bloody bridegroom because of the circumcision. Why did she say this? And what is important we can find in this text? It mentions one son. Moshe left with his wife and his children, his sons. What we can understand, and what's implied here, is that there was one son that he did not get circumcised. One of his sons he didn't circumcise. And one of them he did. One of them he did, the other one he didn't. Okay? And because of his reluctancy, because this is part of his character. So he did something for one, but he didn't do it for the other. So what we see is that he's not consistent. He's always afraid to do something. He probably did it and he got, what are you doing? Why are you cutting my son's foreskin? What's going on? What is this cultural thing? What are you doing? So we see that, did he have the Torah of circumcision given to him at this time? No, his father passed on this information, because if you're not circumcised, then you're not part of the covenant. You can't do Yah's work unless you're circumcised. I got in trouble at a community, okay, because I told someone in there, I said, hey, everybody in this place has to be circumcised if they're going to partake in Passover. You got to be circumcised. That's part of our covenant, okay? And it didn't happen when he got the 10 commandments, the so-called 10 commandments. It happened when Yah spoke to Abraham, and he understood this. It was how did he get the information? How was that transmitted to him to circumcise his son? Circumcision is an identifier, okay? It's an identifier. And in order to be separate from the rest of the world and the rest of the people, one must be circumcised, not only physically, but mentally. So ladies, you think, well, I don't have to worry about that. Oh, yes, you do. You got to choose a man that is circumcised. If he's not circumcised, you join with him, you're joining up with him. And that's it. If you marry somebody that's uncircumcised, then you're uncircumcised, period. That's what it is. Well, how do you need to verify? Who needs to verify? Your father. You can't verify, you need to verify. But see, we ain't even taught that. See, you ain't even taught, well, let me make sure you're circumcised. Why? Because number one, if you're not following the Torah and you're not circumcised, I don't want any children with you. Because my children won't be, taken out of this covenant. They're going to follow this covenant. Therefore, they must be circumcised, because this is the reason why Yahweh was going to kill him. Now, you see that. So you see some reluctancy there, okay? When we talk about Sephora, her name means like a bird, and it's a bird of flight. A flight, and it means fast. When she saw what was going to happen, there must have been something that provoked her to go do this real quick. She made the move. She made the move. And guess what? Even in her reluctancy, she still took action. Okay. So Moshe, he got spared because of this move that she did. And this is one of the sharpest stones to get it done with. So yeah, it was a bloody situation. There's no time for A&D ointment or none of that. You getting cut today. That must have been excruciating for that boy. Okay, who knows how old he was, but it had to be done. Okay. Reluctancy. Finally, let me tell you about how after all these weaknesses that I went over, and hopefully you won't be angry with me because I put our teacher, our wonderful teacher, right? He was 80 years old when this was going down. He wasn't a young man. He was 80. He was strengthened. And this is what the Most High wants. In order to strengthen someone, one first must understand what strength is. And you don't understand what strength is until you understand what weakness is. Okay? So you have to find your weaknesses in order to be strengthened. If you only know what strength is, then you'll never understand what your weaknesses are. You have to find out what those weaknesses are, and you have to deal with it. So in our case, in our Torah portion, we found about some weaknesses. We found that Moshe had some reluctancy in order to do what the Most High wanted him to do. He was making up excuses. He was using his disabilities in order to, find a loophole or find a way out of doing what the Most High asked him to do. Okay, the Most High has provided, and He will provide for us to do the work. So whatever work that Yah has us to do in our lives, He's already made provision for it. And all you and I need to do is to have emunah and to be firm in that and to trust and understand that Yah's goal is to strengthen us. That's His goal. Okay, because Israel is in a state of weakness while they're in Mitzrayim under the oppression. His goal is to strengthen them, to lead them and to guide them out of that place of oppression, to strengthen them, to heal their wounds. Okay, Yahweh said to Aaron, go into the desert to meet Moshe. Now He's telling us what He did to Aaron. Okay, Aaron. He went out. Let me slow down. He went, met him at the mountain of Elohim, and kissed him. That mountain is Mount Sinai. That's the mountain he met him at, the mountain that they were going to take the children of Israel to. And Moshe told him everything Yahweh had said in sending him. Okay, that's Sherlock, including all the signs that we talked about, the oath, the Aleph, and the Tav, which He had ordered him to perform. Okay, so when the New Testament tells you that a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign and there's no sign given, then you should understand that that's not from Yah. Yah gives signs. Matter of fact, in the chapter chapter number 6 or 7. Chapter number 7 in the book of Isaiah, the Most High went to a king and told him, I was going to do something for you, ask me of a sign. And the king refused. I'm not going to ask Yahweh for a sign. Yah got mad and said, how long are you going to weary? You're going to weary me. You weary men, but how long are you going to weary me? Yahweh wanted to give him a sign. Okay, so signs are important for the children of Israel because they tell you who Yah is. You understand? By the works and what's going to happen, right? So when there's no sign being given, you should know that Yah doesn't have anything to do with it. Yah gives signs, okay? So, not miracles. Yah gives signs and He gives wonders. So because Moshe told him everything that Yahweh had said in sending him, including all the signs He had ordered him to perform. This is very important for us to understand about being strengthened. Because it's only when you're around people who are like-minded and who have something in common that could talk about it. So his brother, which is his Ak, these two have something to talk about. And what they're talking about is they're telling about everything Yahweh has said. We can learn from this. You're strengthened. We get our strength from one another. We get our strength from other people testifying and giving witness to what Yahweh has said. You're not strengthened by hearing somebody talk about JC because Yah didn't speak anything from him. You're not going to be strengthened by hearing anything in the New Testament because Yah never spoke not one time in the New Testament. You're never going to be strengthened by anybody who wrote something from an anonymous author and you just believe it, a third-party person. You're not going to be strengthened by fishermen and tent makers that tell you this, you don't have to be circumcised. You're not going to be strengthened by somebody that told you that regardless to what was clean and unclean, now you can eat it because, JC came and he died to free us from that. You're not going to be strengthened by somebody that told you that it's okay not to keep the Shabbat and you could do what you want to do just as long as this and this and that. And every day is the Shabbat. You're not going to be strengthened by somebody that's not walking on the same path as you. You're going to be weakened. Okay, and you're going to be continually oppressed when you are not walking in the path that the Most High said, and you're not dealing with people who have been given the same message as you. That's what we're supposed to learn. Because Yah's interested in strengthening us. And when he told them, is you two need to go to the elders of Israel. And you need to tell them what I said. And you need to strengthen them. You understand? So that's what this is about. So walking with one another, and how can two walk together unless they be in agreement? That's what the Most High asked. How can two of us walk together if you are not in agreement? See? So there has to be a consensus. There has to be a goal. They have to be on the same page. And they both have to have what you will call this idea of emunah. That's what Yah's after, which they would call faith. Okay? But here it is. Emunah is belief. Emunah is firmness. Emunah is a pillar. Emunah means to take hold of. Emunah is to be firm. And Emunah also has this idea of a species. It also has to pass on information. Because I'm using Moshe and Aharon to transmit what I said. Now, if they don't believe me, what I said, how can I expect those other people to believe what I said if they don't believe what I said? If I haven't taken hold of them, how can anybody else be taken hold about what they're talking about? How do you and I expect Yah to do anything in our lives, in the lives of other people, when you and I don't even believe what he said? When he's the one who's causing you to believe, all you have to do is just obey. Then Moshe and Aharon went and gathered together. There's that word, gathered, using that shepherd staff. All the leaders of the people, and Aharon said, now we know that the staff means to speak. Yah's using the staff to push upon them, to tell them what? Everything that Yahweh had told through the staff to Moshe, who then performed the signs. The signs are speaking. That's why I told you to take that staff, because the staff speaks. It's not only leading, it speaks to us. It's telling us which way to go and what to do. Okay. But you have to have a willingness. Okay. So I want you to perform these signs for the people to what? To see. So when I come to you, I'm coming to you with signs. I'm not coming to you with this imaginary faith. I'm coming with you to something that you can see. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. The people believed. Why? After they saw it. They believed after they saw it. Now you got to be out of your mind to believe that somebody died for you on a cross and you ain't never seen it. You got to be out of your mind to believe Paul. Somebody didn't even have a wife and children to tell you anything about a family and told you you don't need to be circumcised. You got to be out of your living mind to believe stories that were written by third-party people, and those books were named by the church fathers 150 years later. I want you to see what I'm saying. I want you to be led to the mountain so you can hear my words. I sent Moshe and Aharon to the people. They believed and they heard that Yahweh had remembered the people, Israel, and seen. Yahweh sees how they were oppressed. They bowed their heads and they worshiped. Akika, why are you going nuts? You know why. You know why I'm going nuts. Because this is what is going on. It's the staff, everybody. The staff is the leading, the leadership. The staff is the guiding of Yah. Yah is using the staff to guide us. Okay? by the means to speak to us. The way that he speaks to us is through his Torah. And you cannot get the information by reading just English. You have to understand in what culture, in what tone, and what way that he spoke to his people. That's how you're strengthened. That's the Aleph Tav. That's the oath. That's the sign. So you can get rid of your self-doubt. Let Yah be your strength. Let him be the one that determines whether or not you and I can do something or not. That's what's next. That's next. That's where we're going to be led this coming week, if Yah was willing. We need to praise him and we need to thank him that he stopped by our homes and that he's remembered our fathers, Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. We need to be thankful that he has remembered the covenant that he swore to our ancestors. We need to be thankful that he has compassion and mercy and kindness. We need to be thankful that he looks at us as an infant that's crying out for its mother. And he's moved by that. Your cry might be different. It might be a different sound and different language. But all of us have cries. All of us have groanings. All of us have experienced some type of sorrow. And Yahweh hears and Yahweh sees. And we need to thank him for his character. We need to thank him for the development of our leader, which is Moshe, which they call Moshe Rabbeinu, meaning our rabbi, our teacher. He wasn't perfect, but Yah made him complete. And we can trust, we can have emunah in Moshe and the words that he spoke, because we know that this man was not someone that was a glorified deity. We know that he was a man just like us. He was a human being and he had flaws. And once we understand that, we can move forward and be like, okay, we can see the development of this man and this leader over the next several Torah portions. I mean, to the end, to the very end, to Deuteronomy chapter number 34. So moving forward, we're going to continue to look at the development of Moshe. We're going to look at the development of Aharon. We're going to look at the development of Miriam. We're going to look at the development of the sons of Israel. We're going to look at the leadership. We're going to look at the people. We're going to look at the tribes. We're going to look at all this, right? So when the children of Israel are crying out to the Most High, it was just like Moshe crying out when they opened it up and they saw him. They have mercy. Yah saying, I have mercy. I hear my son. I know my son's trouble. I know what's going on. I caused these things. So you can know that it's me. I'm going to give you a sign. David, in one of his prayers, asked the Most High, give me a sign, or give me a sign to show the people that you're with me. Give me a sign. We don't want any signs because these Greeks told us that a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. You learn today that the sign is the Hebrew alphabet. That's the Aleph and the Tav. Did I know that today? No, I didn't. Just found that out today, just now. Because those letters tell you that it's the Aleph all the way to the top, everything from the beginning and everything in between and everything at the end. Everything between the Aleph and the top, there's substance there. And those are all the letters that are being used for the language. That's the only thing that we have. You ain't gonna have nobody coming out turning water into wine. You're not gonna have anybody coming out and getting bit by a rattlesnake and then they throw the snake in the fire and they don't die. You're not gonna have anybody fall out of a 3-story building and die right in front of you, and then I come along and say and pray over them, and then they come back to life. You're not going to have me go in there, and I'm not going to be able to jump in somebody's somebody died for 3 days, and then, you know, I tell them to come, don't worry about it. Go open the grave up and I'll bring them out. You're not going to see that. That's fairy tale, and that's magic, and that's a lie. Okay. So we're not going to see those things, and no one has seen it. I asked a Christian the other day, and they got mad. I said, can you show me anywhere, any evidence to where somebody as a Christian has been raised from the dead in your time? No one can tell me. No one can show it to me. No one. So you have to deal in what they would call deductive reasoning. You have to deal with facts, known facts. Okay? That's who we are. We're people who deal with that which is real. Okay? We're very concrete thinking. You got to get off that abstract. That abstract, I have your behind, somewhere else where you're not thinking. You're being moved on emotion and how you feel. Okay? The reluctancy part that we learned about Moshe today, let's not be reluctant. Let's not have this hesitation to follow and do what he says. And guess what? It's not going to be easy. He didn't say it was going to be easy. He actually turned Pharaoh against the people of Israel and made their labor even more harder. People ask, well, why'd you do this to us? And Moshe went to the Most High. Why did you do this to your people? Why are you having them even go through more stuff? God has a purpose. He understands the pain. I'm going to get something out of you. That's what I'm after. Okay? So that's your lesson today. That's your lesson. You're not wicked and you're not evil because you look for a sign. You're not evil and you're not stupid and dumb because you want to read the Hebrew language. You're not arrogant because you want to do what's true. You're not religious because you want to follow what the Most High said about circumcision. Okay? You're not going on the deep end because you want to keep the festivals. You're not out of your mind because you want to do what the Most High, you want to walk the way he told you to walk. You want to be strengthened with people who believe and understand what you understand. How can two walk together unless they're in agreement? If they don't agree with you, why are you walking with them? Are you stupid? Why do you keep using the word stupid and dumb and idiot? Because that's what the Most High said. My people are stupid. They're dumb. They're just dumb. And if you make yourself stupid, you will be stupid. That's what he says. Go look it up for yourselves. You don't understand how things work? You really believe that I'm a human being, that I'm going to reason with you? You really think that when you come and told me, oh, I couldn't keep the Sabbath because of X, Y, and Z, you think I really care? You think he's going to hear any excuses on why you couldn't forgive and raise your family the right way? You really believe that? You are stupid if you believe that. You going to believe the testimony of people you don't even know? I told you that I'll kill the innocent for the wicked, and I'll let the wicked just go free. And that's justice. You must be out of your mind. That's not true. That's not true. Now, either we can take the truth or we can leave it. We got to take it. And don't you be hesitant, and don't you blink an eye. And you can see that Moshe made Yah angry on several occasions. First, he didn't want to do what he wanted, made Yah angry. What else did he do? Oh, he didn't circumcise one of his sons. Yah was going to kill him. I thought he loved Moshe. I do. But if you don't do what I told you, you can cross me to the point where that's it. Do you know Yah has limitations in terms of what he'll take from somebody? And you and I don't know what the limits are. Okay. There's a man called Judah's son, Er, that we studied in our Torah portion a couple of weeks back. Yah killed him because he didn't like him. Yah killed a man for, not wanting to continue to see. He killed him. Right? Yah kills people who don't want to do what he wants them to do. And you and I were like, well, that's not a loving God. You got the wrong idea about his love. His love is based on obedience. What are going to happen to the rebels when they get out into the wilderness? What are they going to say? I didn't know. You're going to say, that's not true. I never got the message. That's not true. I spoke, but you wouldn't listen. Go read Isaiah 65. You'll find it. He says, I called, but nobody answered. So you think that these people, you really believe that these people don't know what they're doing? You believe that. One of my favorite movies was Scarface. And the guy came back and said, such and such and such. He said, you believe that lie? You believe it because this guy said so? You can believe that lie if you want. You can believe that your children, they're just in a different culture and they don't understand. Uncle and auntie, mama, grandparent, you can believe it. Brother and sister, they just don't know. They don't understand the language like you. They don't understand verbs. So that's the reason why they're going to be put to death, is because they didn't understand a verb? No. They're going to be put to death because they were unwilling to learn. Just remember that. Anybody that's going to die, they're going to die because they were unwilling. Go read the story. Go into the land and take it. They're not willing to do it. Except for Caleb and Yehoshua. So this unwillingness, you're going to be put to death. And Yah's not going, if he's going to kill Moses over circumcision, what do you think he's going to do about us if we don't keep the Torah? He's not human. He's not. Okay? He's not. Praise be to living Elohim. Any contributions, remarks, questions? And if you didn't get my message, unfortunately, I won't be able to do my Hebrew class today. I have an engagement that I have to attend. But I do want to let you know I do love you and I care about you. And this might give you a break.
Toda, Moray. I wanted to just say thank you so much for your classes. Thank you so much for giving us a wonderful place to turn on Shabbat, and for the beautiful learning, and for not changing. I've been around for a while, and it's amazing how some people they start out and they're so gifted, and the next thing you know, they're saying that they're Enoch, and they're saying that we come again, and with no real proof that they are consciousness that's 4,000 years old. I'm like, just say something kind of deep, Thank you so much for just, being humble. And it was the reason why my husband, Elder Bill, wanted to, this is the reason why he listens to you first thing every Sabbath morning, because you said you didn't want to be called Moray. You said you just wanted to be our brother and a strong wall. So, Toda, and thank you so much for doing what you do. You are greatly appreciated.
Oh, Toda Rabbah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I know I do a lot of yelling and screaming sometimes, and I just want us to understand. I want us to all get it. I do. I know the Most High is loving. I know that he's compassionate, but I also know that he doesn't play games. So one of the reasons why I don't want to be called that is because if someone exalts themselves before the Most High, they're going to be put down. They're literally going to be put down. And I don't want to be put down in the dirt. I really don't. So I just want to be your brother. And that's what I am to you. And I love each and every last one of you. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you.